Hi, I'm Ben, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the history of VHF marine radio, because as well as being a radio ham, I'm also a RYA VHF marine instructor and assessor. In 1947, the International Telecommunications Union, or ITU, allocated 152 to 156 MHz for marine use, including 156.8 MHz for safety and calling, which we now know as Channel 16, the International Calling and Distress Channel. In 1959, 28 channels, channels 1 to 28, were identified with 50 kHz channel spacing. 1979 saw the introduction of channels 60 to 88 with the then new 25 kHz channel spacing. The narrower bandwidth allowed the new channels to fit in between the frequencies of the existing channels. So now the band plan looks like this, with channel 60 being on 156.025 MHz, then channel 1 on 156.05 MHz, followed by channel 61, then channel 2, 62, 3 and so on. By 1983 all equipment had to conform to the new standard. Channels 29 to 59 and 89 to 116 are private channels, also with a staggered 25 kHz channel spacing. These usually have to be added to modern VHF marine radio equipment by the radio dealer and have to be licensed by Ofcom here in the UK. Although many radios sold for the UK market will have channel 37, also known as 37A or M1, which is a private channel allocated to yacht clubs and marinas. They must have a private licence which costs around £180 per year from Ofcom. That same licence also allows for the yacht clubs or marina to use channel 37B or M2, which is the paired or duplex frequency for channel 37, and channel 80, which is a duplex allocated frequency. Each channel in the VHF marine band has a pair of frequencies, so it can either be used on simplex on the lower frequency, where stations transmit and receive on the same frequency, such as channel 16 on 156.8 MHz, or for example channel 80, which is a duplex allocated channel. The boat transmits on the lower frequency of 157.025 MHz, and the shore station transmits on the higher frequency of 161.625, which is a 4.6 MHz split. Generally, most VHF marine communications these days is on simplex channels, with both stations transmit and receive on the same frequency, so both sides of the conversation can be heard by everyone within range. Historically, duplex channels were generally used for ship-to-shore or public correspondence prior to the introduction of mobile phones, satellite communication and the internet. This recording is of a cassette tape supporting an old VHF marine radio course from the 1980s and 90s and explains how link calls were made.
Now, coast radio stations are operated by British Telecom International. They are there to connect ships to the shore-based telephone system, and that means once you're within range of a coast radio station, you can call anywhere in the world. And in addition to the link call facility, the stations offer other services. They monitor channel 16 for distress messages, they broadcast navigation warnings and weather bulletins. The traffic list mentioned at the end of the forecast is a list of vessels for which the station has a telephone call. If your name or call sign is included in the traffic list, call the station and you'll be connected to the caller. The times the traffic lists are broadcast are shown in nautical almanacs.
Isla Radio, we have traffic in hand for the Vigilante, and the tanker Donax, Golf Sierra Yankee Uniform. Donax, Golf Sierra Yankee Uniform. Paul Patrick listening 2182 and channel 16.
It's not possible to give one procedure to call a British coast radio station, because British Telecom is in the process of changing systems, and in some areas the new system operates, in others the old system still exists. However, let's look at the new system first. It falls into line roughly with our European neighbours and represents a substantial improvement. You call direct on a working channel. First, select a working channel. They're listed in your nautical almanac. Then listen. You'll hear either speech, pips or silence.
The silence, when if they switch on to our working channel and it's completely quiet, that means there's nothing happening there and it's okay to call. If they hear pips when they switch around, then they mustn't call then, because that means the operator's busy trying to connect a call. And obviously if they hear someone talking on there, it's a call in process. When they call, they will automatically trigger off the mechanism which transmits the pips. So they know their call's been received then, and then they wait a few seconds and the operator will reply to it.
So, silence means the channel's free. Speech or pips means it's engaged. This is what the pips sound like. In France, they have a different flavour pip. David Bailey was acting manager of Knighton Radio when I visited. What advice would he give yachtsmen trying to make a link call?
At all times we prefer them to call directly on the working channels. I realise that sometimes they are occupied, but if they hear that they are occupied, if they could just wait until a break comes in the dealings with the previous vessel, then they can call and we can get back to them. It's by far the best system. At weekends here, in the summer especially, there's a constant chatter and babble on Channel 16, and about 1 call in 10 gets through first time, I would say, even if the call is made properly. But a call made directly on the working channels comes straight through, usually first or at the worst second time.
When they hang up ashore, you should remain on the line. The coast radio station operator will call you and tell you how long you've been charged for. If the call was unsatisfactory, say you couldn't hear or be heard, then this is the time to query it, not when you get the bill. And talking of bills, there's a new way of charging. It means your yacht's telephone bill can be added to your home or office account.
This is a good system, and it's pretty simple to implement. It's called YTD, which stands for Yacht Telephone Debit. When you call, just tell us that you want it on the YTD system. We need to know then, A, the number to which you wish to be connected, and secondly, the number to which you would like the call to be charged.
That then is the new system. Keep off Channel 16 and call on a working channel. Why, you might ask, has British Telecom adopted this new system?
People that have been in the Solent area will know what the advantage is on a Saturday afternoon. There's so much racket that if we hear one complete call, we consider ourselves extremely lucky. We get fragments of calls, fragments of call signs, and it's always a long struggle, as I say, yachts will appreciate. If you call direct on the working channels, you're the only one on there. You get answered reasonably straight away, and you also do stop a lot of interference that is going on Channel 16.
So, get the message. Use a working channel. Once there, pass your details quickly.
Once we get you on a working channel, we know who you are, and we hope you know who we are. And if a ship's there, I say, what would you like? I know he wants a phone call. That's what he's there for. And what I really expect him to say at this point is the phone number he wants. Otherwise, we can go backwards and forwards half a dozen times to collect one simple 5-figure number from him.
However, in some areas, the old system still exists, where you call on Channel 16 and then move to a working channel. Check which system operates in your area. This, however, applies to everyone.
Please use your call sign at all times. Your yacht's name doesn't really matter until we get down to business. Initial calls should be done with a call sign always. And then when we want information from you, your yacht's name or whatever details it is, please again use the phonetic alphabet and spell things exactly. A yacht's name may sound quite simple, but a simple sounding name can have the most perverse spelling, and it is important that we have things exactly right.
To sum up then, the correct procedure is this. Select a working channel, listen. When the channel's free, call using your call sign. When the operator replies, give him your yacht's name and the number you require. When the call is finished, wait on the channel until the operator calls you. We cannot give you an example of a link call because it will be illegal to do so. When you sign your ship's radio licence, you undertake not to divulge the content or even the existence of any message. The ship's telephone call, although broadcast and heard by hundreds of people, is still confidential, and the privacy of a normal shore-based line still applies.
So that was how link calls were made then. That explains why many older VHF marine sets had a telephone style handset, as it could quite literally be used for making a telephone call to someone ashore. Although this was probably quite a difficult form of communications, especially if the person ashore wasn't familiar with the way the system worked, as obviously the person on board the boat would still need to push to talk and then release to listen, whilst the person ashore was like a continuous transmission, more like a conventional telephone call. This was known as semi-duplex. On some larger vessels with more sophisticated transceivers, it would have actually been possible to have a fully duplex conversation, which would be more like a standard telephone call. The next big change came in 1987 when Channel 70 was designated solely for the use of the Global Maritime Distress and Safety System, GMDSS, or Digital Selective Calling, DSC. VHF marine sets may not have Channel 70 programmed in, and those that do won't allow transmission for voice. DSC allows vessels to call each other directly on a working or simplex channel, which means they are less likely to miss a call, as the radio will alert the user with an audible tone. It also allows vessels to send safety, urgency and distress alerts to any vessel in range. With the distress button pressed, the vessel can instantaneously share its position, time and nature of distress along with the MMSI or Maritime Mobile Service Identity Number, which is a unique number issued to each vessel. Here in the UK, the MMSI number is issued by Ofcom with a ship's radio licence. The next change came 10 years later in 1997 with the introduction of Automatic Identification System, or AIS. This utilised the higher frequency pairs from both channels 87 and 88. AIS is a beacon or short packet of information transmitted every minute or so, sharing a vessel's location, speed, heading and identity to any other vessel in VHF range. Land stations can also receive this information, which is then shared on websites such as Marine Traffic, and I'll put a link in the description down below to marinetraffic.com. By 2001, all fixed VHF marine sets sold must have been capable of digital selective calling, or at least have the ability to be converted for DSC by the addition of a separate DSC controller. Historically, up until the mid-2000s, the HM Coast Guard would have broadcast the regular Maritime Safety Information broadcast, or MSI, on Simplex Coast Guard Primary Correspondence Channel 67. This changed around 2005 to utilise duplex channels 23, 84 and 86 from the now disused Coast Radio Station link call system. More recent changes to the system occurred in 2017, which saw changes to the channel allocations, which again included the Maritime Safety Information broadcast moved to channels 62, 63 and 64. In 2016, at the International Telecommunications Union World Conference, it was agreed that former duplex channels 19, 20, 78 and 79 would be split into 8 simplex channels, numbered 1019, 2019, 1020, 2020, 1078, 2078, 1079 and 2079. The changes took place from the 1st of January 2017, so more recent equipment will have the new channels, although it remains to be seen if any of those channels will be allocated for non-commercial use here in the UK. Anyway, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then please leave a like, subscribe and I'll see you on the next one.